When I was a child, I was a notorious crybaby. My father was a construction engineer, so we traveled all over the world, and I cried in schools from Nova Scotia to Paris to Sao Paulo to New Jersey. And in third grade, we came to Houston. I got on my first school bus. I did not cry. My big brother was with me, but as soon as we hit school, he ran. And all of a sudden, I'm in a crowd of kids, and I just start hollering. Some woman grabs me and takes me to my classroom, blubbering, snot running down my nose. My eyes are swollen, and all my new classmates see me. And there's this kid in the back. He writes my name down. He will be my bully for the next 5 years. Well, you could imagine I didn't like school, but I couldn't pretend to be sick because our new doctor, Dr. Bing, on Hempstead Highway, would end every doctor visit with an injection. And I was the worst. It took 2 nurses to hold me down, and he had to give me the shot himself. I wasn't his favorite. Well, I complained of stomach aches. I thought if a stomach ache would get me under the radar, and I wouldn't have to go to the doctors. But turns out, when you complain of stomach aches a lot, you'll go to Dr. Bing's. Now, this is my memory. My memory is Dr. Bing is huge. He's a giant of a man. He wears a white lab coat to the ground, and he smokes a cigarette. This is 1970s, remember? And he's looking at me, and this is what's going through his mind. There ain't nothing wrong with this little shit. But he tells my mother, he says, y'all gonna have to take him to Herman Hospital for the upper and lower GI. Now, those of you who didn't groan, you don't know what the upper and lower GI is. They put probes and pipes in every orifice, barium milkshakes and enemas and catheters and blood. And I spent 2 days in the hospital in the 1970s. Your mom and dad didn't come with you to the hospital. My mother visited me, but for the most part, I was there all by myself. And I was a crybaby, so perhaps it was appropriate for them to never tell me what was going to happen and just surprise me. The worst surprise was when the nurse casually walks into my room and she pulls the curtain and she grabs my penis and she starts shoving in the tube. And I'm going, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she's like, we have to get a urine sample. And I said, I'll go pee-pee, I'll go pee-pee. No, thank you. We prefer doing it this way. Well, all my tests came back negative. There was nothing wrong with me, of course. But I changed. Something happened to me. And I don't know why the change happened. I credit my mother. My mother was a very good mother. She never yelled at me for crying. She never punished me for crying. She never took away the thing that made me cry, but she was so compassionate. But something happened. When I went back to school, I was no longer afraid of my bully. I never cried at school. I took my injection like a man. I went to summer camp in 6th grade, and then in 8th grade, the summer after my 8th grade year, I signed up, to everyone's surprise, for a mission trip for 6 weeks into the Amazon jungle. The next year, my father moved us to Indonesia, and I would ride my bike downtown Jakarta without any fear. Now, I don't know what it is that made me change. And I have 6 grandchildren, so I keep my mouth shut about parental advice. But I'll give you one piece of parental advice. If your child cries, don't give them the upper and lower GI, please. I'll end with a quotation from that famous child psychologist, Cormac McCarthy. Suffering is part of the human condition and must be borne, but misery is a choice. Thank you.